let me just update you in case you're just joining us. So we've had a presser from IBC Chair Wafula Chebukati on the repeat presidential poll. He says, of course, these numbers probably have changed by now, but by then he had received results from 40,883 polling stations. And as a matter of fact, he said the turnout stands at about 48%. So the pictures or the numbers on your screen represents the results, some of the results that we are getting at the Bomas of Kenya. Remember, they have been aggregated from Form 34As that have been uploaded to the IEBC portal. They're bound to change as the night moves on. We have a team on the ground that's looking at those figures for you. So Uhuru Kenyatta with 97.7%, Raila Odinga at barely 1%, and the rest of the presidential candidates as well. So let's have a conversation about these repeat presidential polls and what is currently happening in the country. In studio, we have Felix Owor, who is an election expert, as well as Alex Gatundu. They have been in studio with me for the last hour or so. We're looking at the repeat presidential poll and the reactions from different leaders across the country and what potentially this means for the country. Okay, so let's talk about this. Felix, let me begin with you. So first of all, you say Wafula Chebukati has no legal basis to postpone this election in 4 counties.
Yes, I mean, as long as he can demonstrate that that communication came from the returning officer or the presiding officer. Remember Article 86, that the import of Maina Kiai's ruling was to diminish the role of the so-called National Tallying Center at Bomas. Decisions including results, Forms 34As and Form 34Bs must be reconciled at the polling station level and at the constituency level. What it means, and the judges were very clear on this case. They say that even if there are 290 returning officers, so be it, there has to be evidence that this decision actually emanated from these areas. And like I've said, whereas there may have been incidences of violence, pitting the police against the demonstrators, there were areas like, for example, in Homa Bay County, in constituencies in Homa Bay counties, where people did not vote because the IEBC officials failed to pick the election materials from the district headquarters. Postponement of elections are done at the constituency, not at the county. Presidential elections is not done at the National Tallying Center or at the county tallying center. There is no such recognition in 86 B and C.
Okay.
Polling station, and I can read it if you want. And the results must be aggregated at the constituency. So there is nothing like I can't postpone the elections in the county. I postpone the elections at the National Tallying Center.
For that time, he's gotten it wrong. The laws do not talk about the polling, the POs, all the, and it talks about the IEBC can postpone the elections. The IEBC can postpone the elections. So it is the IEBC which postpone the elections. So let's not beat about the bush. It is the IEBC that postpone the elections, and who is the returning officer for the presidential elections? It is Chebukati, and that's exactly what he did. So let's not beat about the bush about that. And the most important thing about the entire process is, why would you be complaining about postponement of elections in 4 counties, yet you are the one who caused the postponement of that election?
Alex, who caused the postponement?
Yes, it is the same leaders. The local leaders, the local NASA leaders are the ones who caused it. They are the ones who caused it. So they cannot be beneficiaries of their own iniquities.
You know, you need to substantiate that. When you say local leaders caused the postponement, what exactly does that mean?
Okay, fair enough. Let's assume it is not them. It is no.
Alex, can you stick to your argument?
No. You want me to extend some generosity?
Okay.
To them, I will do that right now. Let's assume it is not them who did that. It is the voters themselves who did that. The most reason why Chebukati was justified in postponing the elections, if it is not other parties, even not the leaders, if it is the voters themselves who actually said, no, we are not going to hold the election in this area. And they actually said that, and they blockaded it. And we also they blockaded several roads. There's no problem. The most reason why Chebukati said, no, we cannot hold elections in these 4 counties, because 1, 2, 3. And in fact, he cited security as the reason. By then, he cited security. Where did he get this information? He got this information from the county, the county officers and the constituency officers.
Okay.
Yes, those are the people who gave that information.
And I hope
and by the way, even IG, he was in the press saying that we have several issues. The whole country, everything was okay, except for these 4 counties.
Felix.
That is a narrative that has been introduced by Jubilee, and every time this country has a problem, it is very convenient to blame Luo Nyanza. And that is something that we really
have to mention the word Luo.
I'll say it. And I'll give you time. When you're speaking, I'll give you time. Secondly, these are the same people who are, when Chebukati 2 weeks ago went on TV and said that the environment was not conducive to guarantee a credible process and suggested that the election should be postponed, they were up in arms. They refused categorically. It's ironical that now it recognizes that there was some inherent powers on the part of the IBC chairman to actually, if the elections could not be held in strict conformity to the Constitution and the election laws, he could move the court, as happened in 2012, when the court was moved, the High Court then, Judges Lenaola, Majanja, and Mumbi, to make a determination on the first election, the date of the first election under the new Constitution. That court case went all the way up to the Court of Appeal, and a 5-judge bench upheld that decision. Okay. Now, suddenly they are turning around and saying, he now has that power. Last 2 weeks ago, they said he didn't have power. Secondly, I don't think it's fair to talk about the leadership if you can't substantiate. I've worked with Uhuru Kenyatta and President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto, and we are tight. We have to respect our leaders. And I'm one person who will go up in arms to defend President Kenyatta or Deputy President Ruto if somebody makes a false statement. Prime Minister Raila Odinga went on TV on the eve of the elections and urged his supporters to stay at home. Now, you cannot, Alex here cannot come and say they incited their leaders.
But I've asked him and then he withdrew.
Secondly, the other point that has to be appreciated, and I've said this from Karachuonyo, where I come from, constituency. Nobody, no IBC officer showed up to pick election materials. Now, you can't blame the voters in Karachuonyo constituency, and you can't blame the leadership of NASA for the action and the conduct of the IBC personnel. What ought to have happened, if that was the case, if Homa Bay constituency had a problem, you postponed election in Homa Bay constituency, of course, in consultation with the returning officer there. But you don't make a blanket postponement in circumstances that are not backed by law.
All right, Alex, listen, we've just heard from some leaders, specifically from Kisumu, with respect to the postponement of the election. And they're saying there will be no voting in Kisumu. October is not a month they were willing to go into election, and they're now mourning the people who've lost their lives in all this. What are your thoughts?
Exactly. That's what I've been saying.
What?
So now, if it is the leaders themselves who are saying there will be no election even on Saturday.
No, that is Saturday.
Yeah.
Not this Saturday.
There's more that should tell you something.
What?
That they are the same persons who instigated.
Again,
yes.
Alex, you're making allegations that you cannot substantiate.
One thing I know for sure, in Kenya, trust me, people cannot congregate. People cannot coalesce politically in a demonstration without any organization. And the organization is done by who? By leaders. Trust me,
so
it is never spontaneous.
Unless you can substantiate,
yes.
Please don't make allegations against leaders.
Yes, no problem. And I said, if it is the voters themselves who decided there is no going to be an election, the more the reason they are supporting my argument that they have said there is no going to be an election, the more the reason why Chebukati should postpone the elections. That's my point. So I don't know why he's complaining. You cannot complain postponement of election which has not happened, and at the same time you are saying that I want election to have been conducted there. Which is which? Did you want election to be conducted there, or did you not? Thirdly, the most important of all, why is NASA complaining about these elections? By the way, I don't even understand. Why are they complaining of these elections? They say they are not going to participate in these elections. They have no business complaining about the elections.
But
they have no
Alex,
business.
Exactly.
They have no business complaining about the election. They did not.
Felix,
They say they're not going to participate in.
Yeah.
Yes, they cannot have their cake and eat it. It is either they participate in election, and by then you can see even from your own screen.
Yeah.
Raja is faring very badly. Yes,
He was not supposed to be part of this.
He is faring very badly.
Come on, Alex.
Yes, he is faring very badly.
No, but he was not even supposed to be there.
Election.
Let me
Why did he not sign Form 24A? Why did he not sign?
Okay.
Because he wanted to participate in the election.
There was no requirement.
So his name.
Alex.
No, I have not been interfering with you.
No, but Alex, can you let him? Okay,
Yes.
okay, guys.
The only reason why it's a debate is both of us must
Raja wanted his name to be on the ballot paper. That's a fact.
Yeah, but you also...
And eventually it was put on the ballot paper.
Okay.
It is on the ballot paper. And people have rejected that name.
Okay.
That's as simple as that.
Okay.
So let's not beat about the bush.
Despite the fact that, so according to you, people have rejected that name, but he withdrew from the whole process.
Let's just say
It's
this.
either he participated. You see, leader, it is either he participated in this election or he did not participate. Was his name on the ballot paper? That's the simple as that.
Did he withdraw from the process?
Of course, he did not illegally. He did not withdraw.
Felix,
legally, he did
help
not.
me here.
And why? Why didn't he sign Form 24A? This is why. This is the reason why. And first of all,
I would not know. I would not know because I'm not.
I will tell you what the law says.
Okay.
I will tell you what the law says. This is the point. If you hear somebody talks from both sides of the mouth, then you must begin to question and tell yourself that there's serious problems here.
Okay.
And it's a pattern that we've seen time and again being peddled by, unfortunately, people from the Jubilee side. The so-called leaders say there was seriously low voter turnout in Meru,
Yes.
Nyeri,
I saw that, yeah.
Eldoret, etc.
There wasn't.
These are so-called Jubilee strong.
There wasn't.
I'm basing this on the media reports that I watched. There are two things. What does it tell you? What does it tell you? That there's something fundamentally wrong with the so-called the voter register in this country. Let's just begin from that, but that's a different matter.
Okay.
What you've been seeing being peddled around, the numbers that are constantly being inflated and things like that is a fallacy. This repeat election has served to deconstruct the so-called voter turnout on one hand, but it has also deconstruct the tyranny of numbers in ways that people will never accept. It's a fallacy. There's nothing like that. It doesn't just happen. If you aggregate majority of counties in this country, and today at least we know, and thank God if there's something positive about this process, is the Kenyan voter. Even in the village, people can articulate articles of the Constitution. This electioneering period has left us completely sensitized and completely educated. So you cannot now open and say, oh, Raila wanted his name in the ballot and things like that. Where we have reached thus far, misapplication of the law and misinterpretation of the law goes back to the doorstep of IEBC, the most incompetent commission we've ever had in history.
Wow. Oh, dear.
Ahmed Isaac commission was much better. I can tell you for a fact. They knew what I worked with that commission. They knew what they were doing. Kivumbi2017 commission. I worked with Samuel Kivumbi2017 in '97. Look, ask yourself one question. From morning up to evening, for the first time since 1992 elections, there was no periodic update on the voting process and things like that. What was the KIMS kit supposed to do? If this election was done in accordance with the Constitution, I'm telling you, the functionalities in that machine should periodically update turnout. And it's programmed to work this way. By 9 o'clock, it updates the number of people who have voted. By midday, 12 p.m., and then 3 p.m., and then 5 when polling closed.
Okay.
It actually, if it works properly. So Chebukati cannot come from the blues and say, oh, we had 48%. It is not in his mind. It is something that you extract from the KIMS kit.
Okay.
And that is something that we have to respect. Now, Alexia cannot begin to talk, Raila wanted this, Raila wanted that. I've heard you people demonize Raila several times. Whereas you're entitled to your opinion, which I respect, and you have every right to say it, I don't think you are competent to disparage the person of Raila Odinga. The only reason why you and I are even having this debate in the first place is because of the enormous sacrifices end the sufferings that he has done that nobody else in this country shares. So let's respect our leaders.
I think you are taking this, you are on a target that is irrelevant to the topic of the day, and I will not go where you want me to go.
Alex, what do you want to say?
The most relevant aspect of this conversation is this, the elections of today. And for me, I'm very glad what happened today. For starters, we have been shown that irrespective of whatever challenges that IBC could have gone through or could have faced, they were able to come out and they gave us the material, they gave us the forum, the opportunity to vote, and people voted in at least 42 counties.
Okay. And so according to you, this was a free, fair, credible process.
You know, you can only determine that at the end of the process. At the end of the process. But so far, so good. And you know, I don't know why we keep trying to state that the right to vote must be actualized. It's not a matter to actualize your right to vote. I'm sure my good friend here did not vote. And trust me. And I voted. I did vote. And trust me, both of us are right in whatever we did because it's a personal choice. Remember, it has nothing to do, choice to vote, it has nothing to do with the Hulu or Rider. Okay. It is his personal choice, it is my personal choice. And we must respect that. It has nothing to do with the Hulu or Rider. So why should the people who voted be demonized? Why should the people who did not vote be demonized? No, respect both of them. If it is 48%, let it be 48%. If four counties did not vote, please respect that also. And the law is very clear. It even anticipated that can happen. And it even said clear that please postpone elections in those areas and also conduct elections after postponement. And a date has already been appointed by IBC Saturday. That is when those 4 counties are supposed to hold elections. So in other words, everyone has been accommodated. You did not want to exercise your right to vote? Fair enough. Saturday, please stand up. You still have another opportunity to vote. So for me, I'm very clear in my mind. There's nothing wrong that happened today. I'm very happy with what happened today. In fact, I am sure Uhuru will get higher number of votes.
Okay, despite the 48% turnout.
Yes.
Alex, let me ask you something.
Yes.
So we're looking at this entire process, the repeat presidential poll. A few days before that, you had IBC chair Wafula Chebukati hold a presser.
Yes.
And it was very categorical. He said, he's not sure that he can conduct a free, fair, credible election. And he said he's made several attempts to make critical changes. All his motions have been defeated by a majority of the commissioners. Under such conditions, it is difficult to guarantee free, fair, and credible election. He said he's convinced that without critical changes in the Kiri Secretariat staff, the country may not have a free, fair, and credible election.
Yes.
A few days down the line, it is the same body under his leadership that is conducting this election. And I'm bringing this because you have people boycotting this process and leave Raila out of it.
Yes.
Because he's the NASA leader, yes, but he also asked specifically his people not to take part in the protests in the streets.
Yes.
But these are people who watched this whole thing unfold. And in a way, they went to the streets and probably voiced their concerns about this whole entire process.
Yes.
Don't you think they have a right to be heard with respect to the incidences and what we have seen in the country a couple of days before the election?
Of course, anyone and everyone in Kenya is entitled to make any complaint concerning electoral process. And this is not the first time that we have had this conversation before, right here. For the last few months, maybe 3-4 months, on the same issue about the right of Kenyans to go to court to urge their issues concerning the electoral process and how the management of the electoral process is being conducted by IBC. That is not in doubt. And I've always said, please, Kenyans have a right to do that. You go to court if there's a problem with the tendering system. You go to court if there's a problem with the ROs. You go to court if you have a problem with the PPOs. You have go to court if you have any problem with anything concerning the electoral process, so that you do not go to the street. Instead, you have an avenue called the judiciary. I have no problem with that. My problem is this. Eventually, we were told by the same people who did not want, who had a problem with the general election, that happened on 9th of August. The same elections, the presidential elections were nullified. And we were told to conduct another election within 60 days, which happened. So why would you boycott the same elections that you had asked for? That's my problem. My problem. Secondly, the same judgment stated that it is supposed to be conducted by IEBC. Thirdly, we had 12 conditions that were given by NASA. 10 of them were fulfilled.
Irreducible minimums.
Yes. 10 of them were fulfilled. In fact, the 11th one was Chebukati's exit, which was the major one. Nonetheless, they still went ahead and said, no. We are not going to elections, despite that fact. Which tells you the boycott had nothing to do with this, the so-called 12 irreducible minimums.
No, so these are just individuals who decided to protest.
These were just excuses for an Usumkate government. I have said that before. I will continue saying it even right now.
Okay.
Everything that has been done by NASA has nothing to do with the vote. It has everything to do with Nusumkate government.
Okay, Felix, this is where you come in.
Thank you very much. And every time we end up with mischaracterization of facts and baseless attacks like this, I think it's appropriate for us to respond. First of all, there was nowhere in the NASA irreducible minimum that made reference to Chebukati. Secondly, the irreducible minimum came from a painstaking process that analyzed the Supreme Court ruling. And remember, the same dismissive contempt that Jubilee lawyers had in court, that they approached the petition, that is the same contempt that you're seeing here. They ended up not applying their mind to what the petition was or what was prayed for. They ended up litigating the 2013 petition, thinking that they would get it. It is NASA who went to court, and it's NASA who won the case, on the basis of which they made a comprehensive analysis of their affidavits, including Winnie-Gushus, including IBC, everyone.
Fake documents.
Yeah, they faked it.
They faked the forms.
Then,
forged documents.
Just give me time.
Alex.
Give me time. I didn't interrupt you, so give me
but
time.
Those were forged documents.
No, but Alex, can you let him
They were
finish?
forged documents.
Just give him time. I mean, if we can't have courtesy here.
Hold on,
then,
it's okay. I'll control this.
All
Okay.
right. So, on the basis of which 12 points were drawn out, a few weeks later, Chebukati did a memo, his own assessment of the failures of IBC that went there, and came up with about 16 points, which substantially corroborated and confirmed the position by NASA. A few weeks later, the European Union came with 18 points on the things that IBC needed to have done to be able to secure the process. And the point is, contrary to what Alex is saying, not even, I would be surprised that not if the number, what IBC attempted to address even reached 3. So the issues that were raised with the view to securing a credible process were never addressed by IBC. Secondly,
which are those?
There are 11. You can go and look at the
which are those issues that were not addressed?
Alex, can you let him finish?
One of the, you can go.
Tell us.
I'll give you 2, but I won't let you
tell us
rope me. First of all, will respond through her, not through you.
Okay, guys, come on.
We'll respond through you and not
they are
through her.
fictitious.
When you do this, even our viewers get to think that you guys are enemies.
We are not.
Come on, people.
But which are those? I want you to tell us which are those issues.
Anyway, let me continue.
Yeah.
Secondly, what Jubilee has constantly done is to conveniently apply the section of the Supreme Court judgment that fits them. Elections in 60 days, and that election has to be conducted by IEBC. There's a prerequisite to that. That election was to be held in strict conformity with the Constitution. The Constitution imposes the threshold, the standards. Article 1, Article 38, Article 81, Article 86, Article 138, and Article 140. These are the standards, read them, that the elections has to be held. Now, what they have said is, elections must be held within 60 days, and conveniently forgetting what the key word or the test upon which that election was to be held. And yes, that election has come, and so the misapprehension arose as a result of you would only be a fool to participate in a shambolic process where attempts to hold it in strict conformity to the with the Constitution of Kenya and election laws have not been complied with.
Okay.
Secondly, I hope with the turnout today, anybody who ever imagined that they had the numbers and that therefore they will control the presidency, that has been set aside.
Alex, you guys don't have numbers.
Just no.
Felix, go on, finish.
The Nusumkate thing
arose
as a result of the thinking that we have the numbers, we won with the 8.3. CNN has estimated the turnout for 27%. IBC has pitched it for 48%.
So who do you believe?
Of course.
Beberu. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You go for Beberu's narrative.
I don't believe.
I would rather believe IBC than CNN.
That is you. You're entitled.
Please. Okay.
You're entitled to that.
Please.
All right, people, listen.
I can never believe the most shambolic commission in history. That can never happen.
I have a right of surprise.
This would be a very good point.
I can never believe the most shambolic commission in history. But let me say this for a fact.
30 seconds, then you take a break, Felix.
Nobody is interested in Nusumkate. What we need is a credible, free, fair, and transparent election that is supervised and presided over by a competent commission.
No, leader, before you go for a break.
I have to take a break.
This question he must answer after the break.
Okay.
What is it that IBC has not done to ensure that they comply with, first, the Constitution, secondly, the law, thirdly, the order of the Supreme Court? I want him to answer that question.
I will respond to that.
Yes.
In as much as I don't take questions from you, but I will respond to it.
You will. Trust me, you will have to.
Okay, people, you're watching Choice 2017. Allow me to take a break. So we have Felix Oworu, who's an election expert, and we have Alex Gatundu, who's a lawyer. And a political analyst in his own right. So allow me to take a break. Then I'll have Felix answer some of the questions that Alex is posing. Stay with KGN News with Kivumbi2017.